Good morning and welcome to Free Advice Friday. My name is Carrie Barnum for New Shelves Books, and we are here to talk about the business of being an author, publishing, marketing, and everything along the way. If you're joining us live, welcome. And if you are watching our replay on YouTube, please know that you can join us live any Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We meet at newshelves.com/FAF. It's a free Zoom link, and you are welcome to join us at any time. With that, we had a couple of questions emailed in, and I'm going to start with those. So the first one, this question is, I'm going to read the actual email. Let's see. I would love if you could talk about the world of used books, books that are being sold at a discount, but no money for the original author. Is this legal? Is this infringement of copyright? It was eye-opening for me to see my only book being sold in Abe Books, Walmart, Second Sale, and World of Books. So a lot of these are secondhand or third-party sales. And what was more disturbing was seeing the prices, some super low, some super high, none of them at the retail price that I had set. And some were even in different countries. So what's the deal? Is this copyright infringement? Do I need a lawyer? Let's dig into that. So secondhand books is actually completely legal, just like I can sell when I'm done with my shirt. If I'm done with it, I could sell it secondhand. Now, I'm not paying the store or the designer a second time. I'm simply recouping some of what I spent on this and giving it on to someone else at a discount. And that is long term and that is legal. If someone has bought your book and they now have used copies, they're allowed to sell it, whether it be at a bookstore, online, Abe Books. You can sell these things used on Amazon. You can sell, Walmart has like a pretty active e-commerce now where you can sell used goods. Lots of different places, and this is perfectly legal. And while I do understand that it can be frustrating when you're thinking more people are buying my book, but I'm not making any money. And I do understand that. However, again, this is a practice that's been around for a long, long time. When someone buys a product, it's theirs to do with what they will, including secondhand resale, and they are allowed to do that. And while you may not get a new royalty off of that book, what you may get is a new fan. So even though you're not getting a direct sale per se, or you're not making money on that used book, the good news is that if they do sell that used book to someone, you don't know if maybe they're a new fan who goes to your website and ends up signing up for your newsletter and buying your next book. Or maybe if you are a nonfiction author, they're diving into your course because they loved your book. Or maybe they read your book and they go on Amazon and leave a great review. So there are other side benefits to it. But the thing is that it's not illegal in any way. And also, it's important to keep in mind that if you either are using expanded distribution through Amazon or your book is up on IngramSpark for Ingram Wholesale, retailers can purchase your book at wholesale and then sell it. That's what retailers do. So if your book's on expanded distribution through Amazon, or your book is available through Ingram, either through traditional distribution and publishing or through IngramSpark, then what that means is it goes into the Ingram Wholesale catalog, and anyone who has an Ingram Wholesale account can go and purchase your book. I'm a wholesaler. I can go and I can take your book and I could sell it in my bookshop. Walmart that's how your book gets on barnesandnoble.com. It's how your book gets on bookshop.org. So all of this is not only standard, but it is perfectly legal. You do not need to retain a lawyer. No one is secondhand printing your book, or I can't say no one. There's always that small possibility, but it's very unlikely. So there's no copyright infringement or any issues there. Now, if you do truly believe that your book has been stolen and is being reprinted, in most cases there, you would actually have to buy a copy of the book and see if it is indeed different than your own. There are some scammers out there that will do that. However, they typically will do that on places like Amazon, and they will do it if a book is selling really, really well, because they want to steal that business and make a profit. So those are the things to consider. But so the good news is you don't need a lawyer and that you are actually doing okay. I know it can be a little bit frustrating, but that's just part of the book business. So hopefully that explanation makes a little bit more sense about how secondhand sales work. Let's see. Would appreciate any advice on querying an unpublished domestic thriller while you're writing the sequel. I love this. So when you are querying, it's so important to remember that yes, series do often sell best. However, publishers and agents do not want a series off the bat, or usually they don't. What they typically want is they want a standalone, especially in the suspense or thriller category. So remember that when you're pitching, you are pitching this as a single novel. Now you can say it's got series potential and keep on writing the series because, hey, maybe that series could become its own standalone, that second book. Or maybe if you end up going the indie route, then you would have a series going, which is, in my opinion, much more fun and easier to market when you are indie and you've got full control of that. So just keep in mind that when you're querying book one as a standalone. Series potential is fine, but you don't want to leave anything unfinished. If things feel very unfinished going into the next book in series, most publishers are not going to want it unless they specifically put out a call for a series. So there are a couple of publishers who will put out where they're looking for a series of a duology or a trilogy where they're looking specifically for 2 to 3 books. And in that case, then throw my advice right there out the window and go with, more of a robust full series. But you really do have to look at that. And I also think it's important that while you're writing this, keep in mind that you've got it in mind for a series. But let's say you get an agent who says, I want this as a standalone. We don't want that series. Okay, well, you hold the sequel in your back pocket. Maybe you publish it later, maybe you don't. Maybe you change some of the details and you make it a standalone that just happens to bisect. You will see this a lot with thriller and suspense, where you maybe have the same detective or you have the same main characters or characters that cross over, but completely standalone different storylines. Very, very common in suspense and thriller. So I think that even if you are I think if the hesitation is, do I continue writing even though I haven't sold the first book? The answer is yes. Yes, always keep working and writing on your next project because, again, you never know how that might be used in the future. You may finish this second book and say, hey, this is stronger than the first. I'm actually going to pitch this as a standalone to agents. Or you may down the road decide you want to go the indie route, and then you've got 2 books in a series all up in the hopper, ready to go versus one. So also keep in mind that when you're querying, I get this question a lot, and I talk to some of my agent friends about this, is when you're querying, keep in mind you're gonna get a lot of no's. I've had some people say, man, I queried my top 10 agents and I didn't get a response. And I'm going, okay, so what about the other 90? What about the other 200? Um, it usually takes quite a few queries to get a yes or to get a full manuscript read. So keep in mind that just because you query someone does not mean that you're committed to them. If we think about it, it's a little bit like speed dating. When you query someone, you're sitting down at the table with them and asking what their interests are and if it could be a good fit. You're not committed to life. You're not marrying them. That's when you sign with an agent. So you are absolutely allowed to query as many agents as you want. You can query 10 agents, but you're limiting your pool, or you can query 200 agents. And maybe 5 of them come back, but only 1 or 2 is really a good fit for you. And that's what you want to pursue. That's perfectly okay. But there's nothing saying that you cannot query multiple agents at a time, keeping in mind that agents often will take a long time to get back to you. It's not unusual for agents to take 4 to 6, 8 months to get back on a manuscript. So you don't need to be sitting around on a Friday night doing nothing. You can keep querying other agents. And if it comes into play where you have multiple requests and multiple offers at a time, there are ways to handle that. We've talked about that before, where if you get multiple requests, you just send out the request. Request is, again, that's not a commitment. So you send them out. If someone comes back and says, I would like to sign you, that is when you follow up with every query you put out. And you follow up and say, I've just gotten an offer of representation since I had pitched you on X date or I pitched you recently. I wanted to follow up and just give you the opportunity to see if you're still interested or not. And sometimes there are actually agents, I've talked to these agents who literally don't even look at emails unless it has in the subject line, following up, have another offer of representation. Like they literally wait, essentially, they wait for other agents to kind of find the good ones or the ones that they think have a lot of opportunity. And then that's what they reply to. And sometimes they will they'll ask for they'll make an offer, and sometimes they won't. But that's how you handle that. So get out there, speed date all those agents, put your queries out, and just keep in mind that volume is often how you end up landing an agent. You have to go through a lot of people to get the right reader and to get the right agent with the right connections for your book and to sell your book to a specific publisher that's the right publisher to publish your book. So it's a process. I know I've said this. That's right. Get out there. I do. It feels like here's Carrie's book dating show. But I think it's just so important that same thing. If you're not marketing your books, when authors come to me and say, I have no sales, my book is not selling. And I say, okay, what are you doing to market it? And they go, well, it's on Amazon. Great. That is great. I don't mean to be that sarcastic. It is great, but it doesn't mean that your book's being marketed. So no wonder why it's not being sold. You have to be proactive. You have to go after what you want and actually work towards that regularly to make things happen. Another question that came in was from Terry. Terry's question is, we've had a successful title on Amazon Advantage, which is the Amazon Advantage is like a reseller account essentially for 20 years. And now we are out of print copies and it's time to reprint again. However, we want to switch to print on demand, which means switching from Advantage to KDP. So for those of you who don't know, before CreateSpace and KDP, and yes, there was a before, or before it was so popular and such a well-oiled machine, many authors would do a large print run and then they do Amazon Advantage, which is a seller account where they're shipping boxes to Amazon and then, Amazon puts the book up for sale. So just a different process where, of course, print on demand means you put your files on KDP. When you get an order, they print, you earn profits off of that, but you're not doing a big print run and you have a lot more access to marketing tools through KDP or authors specifically. So back to the question. Can you give me precise steps to move my title from Advantage to KDP and still retain the existing ISBN and all of the existing reviews? And this is a great question, Terry. When we are talking about a print run, where you've done a print run and then we're moving to print on demand, unfortunately, you cannot keep your ISBN. It is considered a new edition if you put your book up on print on demand. So your offset print was one edition, and we'll call it the first edition. And then if you put your book up on KDP for print on demand, you would need a new ISBN and it would be considered a second edition. Now, when you do this, it is very important that if you want your reviews to transfer over from your Advantage ISBN to your KDP ISBN, it is super important that the title, the subtitle, and the author names stay exactly the same. You can update some of the content inside. If you have changes that need to be made, you can update that. But title, subtitle, author names have to be exactly the same. If they are not, when you try to link your reviews, Amazon's going to say, oh, it's a different book. It's got a different title. It's a different author. So you really need to pay attention to that. Now, I will say you will get different answers from Amazon depending on who you talk to. And sometimes if you talk to someone and they tell you no, and you come back a week later and you talk to someone else, they tell you yes. I'm dealing with that right now. So what I'm going to say here is this is the process that I would take. However, can I guarantee it? No. And here's why. Because sometimes Amazon has one policy and does another. And sometimes what they do just depends on the rep that you get. So I'm going to give you the steps to your best chance of keeping those reviews and what I would do personally. So Number one, I would keep your Advantage book and ISBN up on Amazon. In the meantime, I would take your Kindle book if you have an ebook. Take your Kindle book, upload it to KDP, same title, same ISBN. If you have, if you have anything else, you can do an updated cover if you need to. If you're updating in the interior, that's fine. But title, subtitle, author are all the same. Put it up on KDP as an ebook. Once it's live as an ebook, link your KDP ebook with your print, your Advantage print version of the book. So you'll have your Advantage print version and your Kindle version connected on the same sales page. They will now be sharing reviews. Once this is done, important. Once that step is done and it's connected, when you're in the KDP dashboard and you have your Kindle listing, it will say connected to that listing, create paperback. You want to select create paperback, and then you want to put your new KDP edition up on the Amazon platform for KDP. Same title, same subtitle, author names are going to be the same, and then you're simply going to upload your new files. Once this is done, and this is only once it's done, hopefully by this time, your KDP ebook and your Advantage print book have been well connected and they're doing good things. After that, once the print book is established, one of two things may happen. The print book may kind of be floating alone on its own. The KDP print book may be floating alone on its own on Amazon on a separate sales page. That's one option. Best case scenario, what happens is that that print book connects to the Kindle ebook. And when it connects to the Kindle ebook, what happens is that that new print version from KDP starts to take precedence of sales, and it also gets the reviews from that KDP book that's already connected to the Advantage book. That's best case scenario. If it's floating along and that paperback is not connected to the Advantage paperback, what you then need to do is to use your KDP account to contact Amazon through your author account on KDP, and you need to ask them to link your book. Say, this ISBN was the old edition I had through Amazon Advantage. I would like the new second edition ISBN to be connected to that listing, as this is now the only option in print, and it should be connected. If all goes well, what happens is that they then connect your print book. So now your Kindle and your print book are connected to your old Advantage listing, but the newer edition that is in print and in stock will actually just naturally take over. Now, I have had it where Amazon says, oh no, that was in a different account, or for whatever reason, we can't connect that print book to this other print book. I've had this happen on more than one occasion. When it does happen, I strongly encourage you, okay, go to Author Central, try it through Author Central. If they still say no, wait a couple of weeks, try it again. Because if you get a different sales rep, they will connect it to you. Some of them, I don't know if they really can't, or if some of them are reading from a script and they're doing exactly what it says and don't know some loopholes. I don't know what it is. But most of the time, after a couple of tries, you can get it connected. I've only had one instance where I was not able to get the new edition and the old edition connected. And in that instance, the subtitle had changed. And that is what they used as why they couldn't do it. So is it guaranteed? It is not guaranteed. I will be straight up and honest with you. However, that is your best chance of keeping your reviews. And this whole thing goes for anyone who's doing a second edition. Let's say you weren't on Advantage, but you got your rights back from your publisher and you're now publishing a new edition. The same strategy goes. I'm doing this with Jane right now. The same exact strategy goes for that. If you have a second edition and it's in your own KDP account, and here's the rub, if both books are in your own KDP or Amazon account, they are much more likely to link them without issue. So I would still follow this process, but it's not as hard to get them to link. But if you are getting your rights reverted and you're publishing in KDP when previously it was in your publisher's account or something, that's when you might run into more issues and have to ask more than once. So I know it feels like, I know it feels like a crazy woven weird thing. And it is, it's got special steps and the order does matter. However, that's exactly what I would do if you still need help, if you need someone to work with you, to walk you through that process. That is something we do here at New Shelf. So feel free to get in touch for that. All right. Now this next question here. Let's see, I failed my most recent book launch and was hoping to issue a second edition to try again. How much additional content do I need to qualify as a second edition? Good question. So for this, Randy, the good news is a second edition doesn't need new content. Yes, you can put new content in there, but it doesn't need it. Now, if you are trying to put on this second edition that is updated or revised, the rule of thumb is that it needs to have 25 to 40% new content. That can include your cover, it can include changes inside, it can include additions if you've got more to put in. It could include a special workbook that you're adding with it or something along those lines. But 25 to 40% is kind of the rule of thumb. Now, here's the tricky part is there's no real, like, no one's checking this. No one is checking this and seeing if you did in fact change 30% of your book to call it an updated and revised edition. However, if you're going to offer something as updated and revised, the general consensus is this 25 to 40% because the reader will expect new content, especially if they might be buying your book again. So you do have that option. Now you could just do a second edition. You could, maybe you had it in paperback before and now you're going to launch it in hardcover and you're going to go with that. Maybe you have the audiobook and that's what you have new. So sometimes you're going to do a second edition and sometimes you're going to bring in a new format and focus on that as the new launch. So you have a couple of options kind of depending on your book, what you're writing in, genres and things like that. But I will say that if you're trying to launch again and you're doing a second edition, I would wait at least a year from your first launch. That's just me personally. But those are some of the things to consider. How can you make what you've got different, either with a second edition, an updated second edition, or simply bringing in a new format and focusing on the marketing of that? See, I've been publishing with IngramSparks global distribution. The first version of the metadata had some mistakes. I published the changes months ago on Ingram, but some stores still haven't updated the information. Can I make them update? This one is tricky. So one of the things I would do is I would go back to IngramSpark and I would say, I've noticed that some of these updates have not been made. It's been 60 days, 90 days. But what I would do is I would email IngramSpark and I would say, these updates have not been made in multiple stores. Would you please push through the metadata again? And what they do is, what they do is they push out metadata on a schedule to their vendors, to Barnes and Noble, to Amazon, to bookshop.org. And so you can ask them to do another push of metadata. Now, typically this has happened. Historically, this happens on Thursdays. So you would want to get your request in prior to Thursday for those effects to possibly take effect the week following. So I would start there where you are asking for IngramSpark to push out that metadata again. The other thing you can do is, depending on what updates are needed, you can go to individual stores or websites. So for example, Barnes and Noble, they have a email address that is for corrections where the publisher or the author can write into their team and say, my book listing here has the wrong publisher name or whatever. And they will take you through the steps where they update it in their own system. And I know other stores do as well. It's just using Barnes and Noble as an example. So if you know there's 1 or 2 or 3 specific places that your metadata has not updated, look for an email or a contact specifically for publisher updates on that website and see if you can get in touch with them directly to update their website. I've had to do that again. Barnes and Noble is pretty good about it. They have a dedicated email for it, and I've had a lot of success with them, but you can do it with other websites as well. And Ultimately, all we can do is request, put out the information and request. Unfortunately, we cannot actually make them do it. Um, but we can request, and generally they do try to work with us. I think in general, people try to be good, decent, work with people, humans. I like to think anyway. Let's see, back to the question of moving from Advantage to KDP. If you already have a Kindle edition on Advantage, does that need a new ISBN to be uploaded to KDP? Let's see. So if you have a Kindle Advantage edition on Advantage, yes and no. So it would be a new edition. However, Amazon doesn't actually use ISBNs for ebooks on Amazon. You can input one, but they don't really use it. If you have an ebook up, what they do use is an ASIN, an Amazon Standard Identification Number. And they assign that when you upload your book. So you can do a new ISBN for your ebook, but you really, really don't need to, because when you upload to KDP, they will automatically assign you an ASIN for your ebook, and you can just use that on Amazon and then keep your ISBN for your ebook everywhere else. So that's actually a little bit more simple because of how Amazon works. So Amazon, they're their own playground, and so they make their own rules. And for ebooks, it actually works out okay for authors there. See, speaking of IngramSpark, I have not been able to try it yet. Walt did ask me about this yesterday when the email went out, and I haven't tried it yet. But IngramSpark has just announced that they now have a new feature. You might remember that, um, gosh, last year probably, might even be longer. And IngramSpark used to have a way where you could sell books direct on your website and it would go straight through IngramSpark. And that platform closed down some time ago. And they have just announced, though, that they now have a new process where you can sell books directly from IngramSpark on your website. So if you are looking for a way to make a little bit higher royalties, to have more control and have a direct sale from your readers straight to IngramSpark on your website, they now have shareable links, purchase links that they are creating for you for your books listed in IngramSpark. And they also are doing personalized product pages. And it's supposed to be pretty awesome. Again, I have heard about it. It's been a very busy, busy week here, so I haven't had time to go in and play with it. Yes, Aereo was the one before, and that's gone. But this new one just came out. It sounds very exciting. I haven't been able to play with it yet, so I can't say whether it's great or not, but I am hoping to get into actually an author that I work with had just been asking about direct sale or a direct link to IngramSpark from their website. So I'm going to get into his account this week, try it out. Maybe I'll film a tutorial and put it up on YouTube, but I will give it a try. And next week I'll have some more information with my opinion on how that works out. But it is very exciting that they have a few more new options. I like to see that innovation in IngramSpark kind of bringing something back that people obviously really liked. So it's fantastic that they're doing that, and I'll keep you updated. Let me see. Whoops. All right. Also in news, since we're on the news, Audible has just announced that they had a great year in 2023. However, even though they had a great year in 2023, they are planning to lay off approximately 5% of their workforce. Now, the Audible staff is pretty limited for a company of that size. So they have an estimated of 1,500 to 2,000 employees worldwide. So they're most likely going to lay off about 100 people. But I think what we're seeing is that they had a great year. Audible did have a great year. They're looking forward to another profitable, good year in 2024. However, I think what is happening is as a lot of things are being streamlined with AI, as things are being streamlined with tech, they're kind of cutting out some human positions. They want to make sure, in my opinion, this is not a direct quote from them, but in my opinion, they want to make sure that what they have remains profitable. They are not just looking for a good year here, but they are looking, as businesses do, ahead to how they can reduce costs, increase profits, and keep profits high. Um, so that way they have that there. And it'll be great. It will not be great. I was reading a comment that will not be great. Layoffs are not great. Jeez, that was bad timing. Layoffs will not be great. It is very sad always to see layoffs, but Audible is doing that, and that's news today. Um, man, that was bad timing, wasn't it? Uh, one of the questions here in the comments is talking about business cards. And absolutely, everyone, authors, I think you should have business cards. One of the things that I love about author business cards is that sometimes you can't always carry your books around with you, but you can sure as heck carry around a business card that has a QR code to your website, that has a QR code to your books on Amazon, especially if they're on Kindle Unlimited. Having business cards, you would have them for your business, right? Like I have them. Look, it's an old one. It's an old one, but that's me. So I have business cards for my business and what I do, and I carry them around not only when I go to conferences and things, but I have some in my purse, I have some in my car, and I have some in my wallet because when I go around, inevitably, I sit next to someone on a plane who tells me all about how they just got their first book deal or their sister is publishing a book or whatever it may be. And so I carry those cards around with me. They've got my name, they've got my email, my website. My new ones have a QR code that go directly to my website. And I am a big fan. For me, I put my face on my cards, and here's why. Because when you're at a conference with a ton of people, or even not, if it's a small conference, you're going to see so many people and you're going to meet so many people. And if you're anything like me, I will recognize a face. But after 2 days of meeting people and names, I can't remember if your name is Karen or Kimmy or Catherine. It might be Teresa. I don't remember. And so I really love having my photo on the cards here because with my photo on the cards, people go, oh yeah, I remember that face. And so this is actually, I've had multiple people say, I came home with a stack of cards, couldn't remember who was who, but I remember your face. And so that is why I personally like to put my face on there. Now, as an author, you may have your face on there, but you may also decide to put your book covers on there as your face. Maybe you have both your face and your book covers, but I think it's a great way to keep things. It's kind of that idea of always marketing while not marketing. If you have a QR code that can go directly to your website or whatever, when you happen to be talking to a parent at preschool pickup and talking about your kids' books, or, oh, Danny told me that you write children's books. Yes, I sure do. Here's my card. Oh, well, I just threw my card, so I don't have it anymore. But I think it's such a good thing to have. And business cards are so expensive to order. You do not need 500. You do not need 1,000. But getting 100 and having them there, I think is such a smart idea because it gives you an active marketing piece. If you have a vendor table, you can have those business cards. If you are um, at a conference, you have business cards. It's just an easy and convenient thing to have. And yes, it is easy and free to convert your website into a QR code. QR codes are my friend. Number one, because QR codes allow us sometimes, depending on what system you're using, sometimes you can actually change the website the QR code goes to. So you may have it as your website and say, man, I should have had it as my Amazon since it talks about Kindle Unlimited. Sometimes, depending on the QR code that you're using, you can change out the website. Or it's just a really cheap and easy way where some people will say, oh yeah, I don't really want to take your card from you. Here, let me just do the QR code so it'll be up on my phone and then you keep your card. I see that a lot now where people are like, yeah, I don't want to carry around your card or, kill a tree. But if I could just take your QR code, I'll pull it up on my phone. And it's so much easier than trying to tell someone, okay, now I want you, yes, my website. Okay, it's NEW, and you go through that and then they spell it wrong and then it's just a mess. So it makes it very quick and easy. I have ordered, as far as questions of where you order them, I have made my QR codes. QR codes, you can get them free from Google. Kindlepreneur, Dave Chesson has one that's really easy to use for authors. That one's free as well. And then there are some paid options depending on how much you use QR codes. I don't personally see the need for paid QR codes unless you're using them as a business-wide initiative and putting more into it. But That's just me. As far as where I get the business cards printed, I've done Vistaprint. My last ones I created right in Canva, and then I printed from Canva, which I believe uses Vistaprint to print. But so I've done that. There are other small companies. Cheryl saying Moo business cards, which I haven't heard of, and there are so many options for what you can do. Main thing I would suggest is, again, QR code, photo of you, your book. Don't overcrowd it. Do not be tempted to put all of your information in there so that it's little. It's already going to be little. Don't overcrowd it. Put your genre or your hook and then your basic information. Leave them with enough information to find you, but not so much information that they don't want to use the QR code and go to your website because they already know your whole life story and how many dogs and kids you have. Give them just a taste so they're excited to go see your website and check that out. And do I do just the QR code or the text, like the actual text? I personally do both, but I do a QR code. I think mine is a QR code on the back. And then on the front, I have my name, my business phone number, and my website. Now, again, for me, that makes sense because I'm business focused and, that's where I'm driving people. So it depends on your needs, but typically I would do both just in case I've had one or two people who were not QR code savvy or, I you just never know. I had someone who doesn't have a cell phone. They still have a landline. And so whatever works. I would rather give more than less in that regards. I will also say, yes. And I will also say, as far as quality, I personally right now, and I am loving them. I wish I had. Look, I've got like 1,000 business cards, but they're over there behind something. They're not right here. But my business cards now are almost like a plasticky feel, and they were a little bit more expensive, but I really like them because they don't wear those paper cards when they're, in your purse or something. They can wear, and the print can actually kind of start to wear off, and they can get crumpled and not look very nice. I mean, I guess if you're one of those people who's smart enough to have a business card holder, that wouldn't be an issue. But if you're like me and they're shoved in with a Slim Jim and 5 pieces of candy in the side pocket, then they can start to look not very nice after a while. And those plastic cards retain their shape. They are, they feel nice. They feel expensive and nice. And they also hold their shape better if you're throwing them in places. Now, again, if you are one of those responsible people with a business card holder who doesn't bend things, then maybe you don't need that. But for me, or also when I give it to people and they're shoving it in a bag at a conference, also it's going to retain better. And I like those. So just kind of insights and thoughts on that. And I think, like I said, there are some things as a author. Now, do you need that when you write your first book? It's not a need. It's a great thing to have if you have the money to invest in it. And it's something that typically is going to last for a long time. It's not something, you're not necessarily going to change your book title every 2 months. So I think that's important. And then we did talk about actually on recently, I got a question about headshots. And I did just do a video on YouTube. I think I put it on Instagram too. I'm trying to diversify. I'm trying to do what I preach. So I think I put it up on YouTube if you want to find it. But essentially, headshots, if you're doing one, it is very important, in my opinion, not how old is this headshot? Is it 2 years old? Is it 5 years? Is it 10? I mean, to a point, but I think the most important thing that you want to think about it, if you're putting your headshot on your card, remember the purpose of that headshot is that people remember you and they recognize you. So whether you're using a headshot for a business card or the back of your book or anything, keep in mind that if your headshot looks dated, your book and your card will look dated. That's not what you want to put out to the world. You want to put out that this is new and fresh. So if your headshot looks dated, if you've got that 80s perm and the floofy bangs, it's time to get a new headshot. If you have a headshot and you have drastically changed in a year. Let's say you've lost a huge amount of weight and your face has changed and your hair color has changed, and people wouldn't necessarily recognize you from that photo. It's time to get a new headshot. If you, maybe you used to wear a ton of makeup and you did your hair and then you kind of had a moment where you're like, enough of this, I'm going to just let myself be, and you've changed and you're not so much recognizable anymore, it's time to get a new headshot. And Jane, if you have beautifully aged, if you have the lines of wisdom on your face, it's time to get a new headshot. Let us celebrate and love who you are. And again, if you're not recognizable, or kind of, again, I'm having these dating analogies, and I haven't dated in like 20 years. So, but dating analogies here, it's kind of the same thing. When you think you've seen someone online or on an app, and then you meet them and you're like, this ain't you. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that you're recognizable as you. And keep in mind that your readers are not, they're not trying to, in most cases, I would say they're probably not trying to date you, but they do want to recognize who you are. They do want to feel like they know you. We are seeing more and more that the connection an author and a reader has is what drives communication, it drives sales, and it drives community. So if your headshot is from 15 years ago and you don't look the same, I don't look the same as 15 years ago. I mean, you could see that I am me, but I look vastly different. Um, life is on my face, and life is probably on your face, and that's okay. So let's not hang on to the really old shot. Let's let people see who we are now, because while we may have changed from when we were 20, there are some beautiful changes, and you are beautiful, and people want to know the you of now, because your life experiences and what you've done and what you've written are what make you the author you are, and is putting, your works out today. Don't be afraid of that. Celebrate it, because your readers deserve it and you deserve it too. That's my, again, I'll hop off my soapbox. All right. What if over the past 5 years you've gone natural, which is now gray hair from the older dark hair? Is age going to hurt my book sales? I don't think age is going to hurt your book sales. Keep in mind, who's your reader audience? If your reader audience is, I don't know, women in their 50s and 60s, they're probably going, I love that they went natural. I wish I could do that. Or, it's good to feel like I've met a friend. This is someone I could probably talk to in a coffee shop. So I don't think that your age or what you look like really affects your book sales. I won't say it never affects it. I mean, obviously there are discriminations and things like that, but overall, number one, most people are not actually looking at your author photo. Um, it may be on your book, but let's say I order your print book. It's either on the back or in the inside flap. And guess what? I probably didn't look at that before I read it. Now it's on your profiles and things, but again, celebrate who you are. And if honestly, if people are being so petty that they're not reading your book because of what you look like, then they're probably not going to be the reader that you want to cultivate, that's going to give good reviews, and that it will appreciate your book, unless your book is all about celebrating you and being a narcissist, in which case it's completely different. But I know we don't have any of those people on this call. So um, embrace your external beauty, your internal beauty, celebrate you. I think it's the same thing. I mean, think about it. When's the last time you looked at someone? I also would like to say, yeah, I don't think I'll get myself in trouble for saying this, but I'd also like to say that historically, people who sold the most books in publishing historically are older men. Some of them may look distinguished, but a lot of them don't. And it never hurt their book sales. So there really is no reason why anyone, whether you're old or young or male or female, or if you don't identify, there is no reason that what you look like should affect your book sales. Now, Again, there are times where discriminations happen, but I don't think that would be the front of my mind. Yes, Stephen King. Stephen King, I know you're watching Free Advice Fridays as always. Yeah, but yeah, you're a little scary looking. If you look at some of these people, like they look they look like authors who sit in an attic and write stories and maybe eat little children for breakfast. So if they can do it, why can't you? I think you can. Well, don't eat little children for breakfast. But I just think it's one of those things that I don't think it'll affect your sales. And if it does, I know a book sale is a book sale, but what kind of community do you want to cultivate? And do you want to be authentically you? Because again, that's what's driving reader sales, commitment, and community is authentically you making connections. Then they're not only wanting your book because they love it, they are wanting your book because they want to support you. So I think it's one of those things. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to age. Man, you have life experience again, especially like you have experiences and things that are helping you write the book that you're writing now. Life gives you lots of lessons, some good, some bad, some hard, but it is what helps you create those complex characters. If I was writing a book when I was 15, Lord knows my characters, they would all be high drama and whiny teenagers, probably because that's all I had experienced. But writing books, even when I was 20, after my mom died, my experiences changed. I changed. My view of the world changed. When I got married, same thing happened. Having a spouse getting out of the military and having different things going on there changed me. Having children changed me. Having friendships that didn't end well changed me. And those all go into my experience, that go into my characters, that go into my writing. And you get that with life and you get that with age. And so you've done that too. Don't be afraid of it. Celebrate it. Um, I think that readers not only understand but appreciate it. So don't be afraid of it, you guys. We have all lived, and I have seen many of your books. I've read a lot of your writing on this call, and I can say firsthand that your experiences have definitely shaped your writing, and your writing's better for it, in my opinion. My very humble opinion. Again, I've got to get off this soapbox over here. All right, you guys, I think that we are all set here. I am saying I'm starting to line up guests for 2024. I have already got one kind of set up, Marika, who is focused on PR and specifically PR in public relations and media for books. And we've got her coming in on March. I've got two other people I'm in contact with. I don't want to announce them yet because they haven't confirmed, but we are really getting excited for 2024. If you have someone who you think would be a great guest to come on Free Advice Friday, I do try to have a guest on once a month. Or if you think that you have something that you could share with our community and you'd like to come on, email me, you guys. Just email Keri, Keri at newshelves.com. I'd love to know if you have someone you'd like to see on Free Advice Friday, or if you have, a topic you'd like covered. And if you yourself feel like you would be a good guest and have something to offer and share with our community, I want to hear from you because I am kind of planning out 2024 right now. And just as a reminder, next Friday, which I think is the 26th, let me double check my calendar. Yes, next Friday, January 26th, we're going to have our normal meeting here, right here on Zoom for Free Advice Friday. But afterwards, we will end probably a little bit early. We will go to a new Zoom room. You have to be on the Zoom call to get this Zoom link. We'll go to a new room where everyone can come on camera. We can say hi and connect. So come ready for that. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you're in all the snow, stay warm, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.